somewhere in the flash to say this phone is now unlocked. You have to have the right code every startup for it to check. And SHA is a one-way function, so you can't do that. It's 12 digits long. It's 12 digits, 10 to the 12th. That's not that infeasible to brute force. But what Nokia did, they included a 3-digit random salt. And when you type in the 12-digit unlock code, it brute forces the last 3 digits, increasing the key space to 10 to the 15th. Still brute forceable. So GPGPU, the API has a stream. I guess it's all OpenCL now, but back when it was Stream and CUDA. I bought these two nice ATI 4850 HD cards, $100 for a teraflop. And this thing could calculate 1 billion SHA hashes per second and compare them with the hash and see if it matched. It took about 6 days to unlock one of the phones. Cool in theory, not good enough for the people who contracted me to do this job. They needed something way faster. So I did all the math. We were considering building an FPGA-based supercomputer, which could do 1 trillion SHA hashes per second. And the costs all worked out. So it would have been interesting to do if I didn't find out what I found next. The Bleckenbiker exploit, I don't know if I pronounce it right, Bleckenbiker or something like that. It's an attack on low exponent RSA. It was in the original iPhone. So iPhone SIM free, the first software unlock to come out, the paid one, they used this exploit. So I'm very familiar with it. So yeah, RSA is the ciphertext raised to the third power mod the modulus. So if the ciphertext raised to the third power is less than the modulus, you can control the bytes that are there. So you can control the first hex 2A bytes using iPhone SIM free. So the first hex 10 bytes are checked, and the last hex 14 bytes are the SHA hash. So I was like, okay, Bleckenbiker can't work because I have to control the beginning of the RSA struct. Well, I was wrong. Find C, ciphertext, such that I control the start and the end digits. Start digits is easy. You just take the cube root. The end digits is harder, and I never actually worked out the math completely behind this, but I found a way to brute force it in n time, where n is the number of digits. So it takes milliseconds to do the brute force. And then you have the expansion, a plus b to the third. The a cubed term and the b cubed term make up the top and the bottom, and the middle is just garbage. So that cost me that job. The rest of this presentation is exploits I tried for and actually succeeded at getting. So start with some iPhone stuff, and we'll get to the PS3 stuff later. iPhone, a case study.
Okay.
It's a good example of a basic embedded system. The iPhone, the PSP scene and the iPhone scene, there's a lot of parallels between them. So the iPhone actually has 2 processors. This is the boot chain on both of them. The left is the application processor, the secure ROM, the low-level bootloader, iBoot, the kernel, and then applications. And each one of those signature checks the next one. On the left, this is the boot chain of the baseband, the phone processor, a boot ROM, a bootloader, and the actual main code for the baseband. So the original iPhone, the iPod Touch, and the 3G are pwned for life. Both exploits. There's a buffer overflow in the boot ROM. So you can upload like a loader. If you've taken apart any IPSWs, it's called IBIS or IDEC. You can upload these loaders, and the loaders have an Apple signature at the end of them. And there's just a buffer overflow in one of the fields. So you make that loader, overwrite right on the stack, and jump into your code. It's very easy. And yeah, there's no check. This is the reason these are untethered. There's just no check between the boot ROM and the LLB. How the engineers overlooked this, there's all the code in the boot ROM to do it, they just didn't flip the flag. So yeah, that's where most security vulnerabilities really come from. Other exploits. So then the iPod Touch 2 comes out, and can't do this anymore. They check it properly. But they load the encrypted code into a hex 24,000 section. But there's no check to make sure the code is 24,000 long, and if you run off the end of that, you run into some critical variables. So all you had to do was, what they store down there is the pointers to the AES MMIO registers. So you just had to change those pointers to a register on the stack, and then when it pops the LR off the stack, you can jump right into the code. It's and then you have like 10 bytes to copy it back to the right place, and then you can run it. So yeah, that was for the iPod Touch 2, and then the 3GS comes out, and this is where I started running the scene. iBoot environment heap overflow. There was an overflow. There's heap overflow in the environment variables in iBoot. If you so like in a bash shell, you can expand the environment variables by putting the $ and then the name of the environment variable. What was checked in the length that it copied was the length of like $A. So that counted as 2, but if $A expanded to 50 characters, it only counted as 2 in the register. So you could overflow the heap, and the dev team and I both found this exploit independently. Their implementation actually exploited the malloc struct. I just exploited the ring buffer that followed. And when you have a ring buffers are great. You have a pointer to previous and a pointer to next. And when you remove something from a ring buffer, you store next and previous and next. And that's a great way to get a 1-byte switch. And with a 1-byte switch, you can pretty much control any system. The Black Rain exploit is, there's a mem copy. So there's a USB control message you can send to it to read out data. But if you send the right version of that control message, as opposed to read, it does a mem copy to a null pointer. Which, in most reasonable computer systems would just crash it. But in the iPhone, they put the exception vectors at address 0. So the IRQ vector is there. Send the IRQ vector to wherever you want, and there you go, there's code execution. What's really cool about that exploit too is the client-side part of Black Rain does no fingerprinting. It doesn't fingerprint the phone. It doesn't care which phone is running. It was possible to make the shellcode, the payload, generic enough that it didn't matter which phone it was running on. It could do all the detection in real time. There's also, and I've hinted to this a couple times, an unreleased exploit in every iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch in the boot ROM to get code execution. And if I ever do another jailbreak, that's the exploit I have. If you've seen, I posted like a picture of 4.0 jailbroken. I posted my iPad jailbroken all before Spirit was released, and I used a completely different set of exploits, which maybe when iPhone 4 comes out, will be out. So another thing they added in 3GS was no downgrading. You can't downgrade your phone. You upgrade to 3.13 and you can't downgrade to 3.12. So the way they do this is they have the code, and the code is signed, and they added one more field, ECID, which is an ID that's unique to the processor on your iPhone. But they didn't realize that if you stored that signed thing, you could just copy it back over. So yeah, part of a replay attack. All you need to do is replay it, and that's what Sorik's signing server does, if anybody's used that. You can, it goes to Apple's website and fetches all the unique keys for your phone. And then you can restore, instead of pointing to gs.apple.com, gs.sorik.com, or whatever.